What's up, friends? Welcome in to Rock Chalk Sports on KansasNation.com and ESPN Kansas City. Daniel Court here alongside a much younger Sean Kellerman. I'm just kidding. It's Henry Greenstein. We're going to have him on in the first segment of the show. We're going to be breaking down KU Towson. They defeat Towson 73-49, second lowest scoring output by any opponent for Kansas this year. I believe Corpus Christi was around 46. Is that correct?
That is correct.
46 points. So 49 points only scored for Towson. Towson had a lot of really good players on the team as well, or at least a couple of exceptional players on that team, and didn't really get going for him. So really excited about that. Going to break that down with Henry here in this opening segment. Also going to talk a little KU football transfer portal action, as well as Laquan Robinson has now entered the transfer portal, sort of reserve safety for Kansas. So going to ask Henry a little bit about kind of his thoughts in terms of what Kansas needs to do in the transfer portal. Coming up after this segment, going to be hearing from Flory, Bidunga, Trey White, and Melvin Council as they were made available to the media after the 73-49 victory over Towson. And once you watch this video, it's going to become glaringly apparent that these guys love each other. I mean, this is something that we haven't seen at a Kansas team in at least the last 2 years, right? And all these guys are friends. They like hanging out. He was even asked, somebody asked Bill Self about it in his press conference too. After the player post-game video, going to do a little bit more KU Towson breakdown. Also going to talk a little bit KU football as well. After that, 5 o'clock on a Wednesday, you know what that means. It's time for the KU Mailbag. By the people, for the people, the KU Mailbag. Henry has already sent in a question. I really appreciate it.
Yes, I sent it in from across this desk.
You mailed it to me. By the way, you knew you were coming here, but you planned ahead. You put it in the mail about 5 to 7 business days ago, and it showed up at our front door. So I really appreciate that. You can do that as well. Or the easier way to do that, you can DM us or reply on Twitter for any questions you have regarding anything. Food, dating advice, you know this, Henry. KU Mailbag, by the people, for the people. After that, going to hear from Bill Self. He was made available to the media. And then after Bill Self's post-game press conference, going to be talking KU Haskell. I'm going to be there tonight. First time they're meeting up since 1977. The City Showdown, or the 785 Community Game, as they like to call it. I like to call it the City Showdown. Henry, thanks so much for joining the show, man. Really appreciate it. I just saw you last night at the KU Towson game. First things first, let's go ahead and get that started. KU Towson, 73-49. It's a good victory, right?
Yeah.
But by all accounts, a relatively uneventful game, I would say. Not a lot you can really pull out of. Darren Peterson did not play in this game, obviously dealing with some quad cramping issues now. But your overall takeaway from the KU Towson game from last night?
Yeah, I thought it was solid. I think unspectacular would be a fair way of describing it. I will say this. Bill Self's point of emphasis, and it's always very clear sometimes when he has a particular thing he wants to hammer home in his pregame press conference, like the day before. And this time around it was, the team needs to play faster on offense. The ball needs to be less stagnant. They need to have ball and body movement. Because when you don't have Darren Peterson in the game, but even when you do, when you execute better, that'll lead to so many more easy buckets that they haven't been getting to this point. And to KU's credit, they came out and immediately it was clear that emphasis had resonated with the players. They jump out ahead 13-3 by the first media timeout, eventually go 15-3. After that, a little bit shakier, a little bit I guess less true to form in terms of what they were trying to accomplish. But they were whipping the ball around the perimeter. It was leading to good looks inside. It was leading to kind of one-on-one post opportunities for Flory, or opportunities for him to pass out of the post and find open looks on the perimeter. Ultimately, I don't know that I was insanely impressed by what they did the rest of the first half, but they did a pretty good job putting distance in the second. It was good to see consistency from Flory, from Trey White, from Melvin Council. A nice second half from Tiller. Now he just has to kind of string two of those together and be more of a factor rebounding. But on the whole, not too much to complain about when you hold a team below 50 points, especially one that had the reigning and preseason conference player of the year in its league, who was limited to 8 points on 3 for 12 shooting. That's not anything to complain about, especially in this kind of pre-Christmas look-ahead zone where teams can tend to be a little sleepy. And it was certainly sleepy in the field house yesterday. It was interesting. It was a perfectly full crowd.
Yeah, they did a good job of filling it up.
Very quiet. But to their credit, the players took care of business, and they got one more non-con game, and then a very long break before playing UCF on the 3rd.
Yeah, and that long break could bode well for guys like Darren Peterson who are trying to rest up, right? So hopefully he's good to go. You mentioned rebounding. I wanted to talk about this because we were talking about this yesterday off air after the game. Kansas, they're one of the worst teams in the nation in terms of offensive rebounding, but they're one of the best in terms of defensive rebounding. What do you attribute that to? And I guess, when you have guys like Flory, Bidunga, and Bryson Tiller, and I'll even throw Trey White out there because he plays hard, and Melvin Council likes to crash on the boards. I guess where is the disconnect between the two? Because yes, they're different, but they're also kind of one and the same.
Yes, and then, I said that great little stat to you, and of course, yesterday they gave up 22 offensive rebounds, so clearly their defensive rebounding wasn't that great. But in keeping with the general premise of what you said, it's hard to say, and I'm sure Bill Self would have a great answer about this, so maybe I'll ask him next time around. But it's almost like maybe, let's think about this. If your offensive rebounding isn't as good, but your defensive rebound is really good, maybe you're positioning yourself really well when opponents are shooting, and you're great at boxing out in that case, but you're not crashing the board as hard on the offensive end. Maybe you're already starting to get back on defense or thinking about getting back on defense. Or maybe you're trying to put yourself in a position for someone else to get the rebound and kick it out to you, except no one else gets the rebound, kicks it out to you. It is odd, though, because with the athleticism KU has and the length, you'd think they'd be stellar in both areas. Inconsistency on the glass was the reason why they lost to UConn. Besides the fact they couldn't score in the second half.
Yeah, there's a couple of things. That was a big one, though. No, I agree.
But those two things played a role. Like, if they didn't allow so many offensive boards to UConn in that second half, it doesn't matter they didn't score.
Right.
Like, they still would have won anyway because their first shot defense was so good. And that is something Bill Self keeps hammering home, by the way. Their first shot defense has been really good. The implication being that beyond that, maybe it hasn't been quite as good. So that is going to be a key step for them if they want to truly become the elite of the elite on defense. So far, they've been really excellent. It's kind of just nitpicking, but it is something to watch out for.
Yeah, you're almost to the point where the stats are the stats, right? And they're not just weird flukes. You know what I mean? And I think this Kansas team is a very good defensive team. You look at the numbers just based on on guarding the perimeter, right? They held Towson to 12%, and we know Tyler Tejada and Dylan Williamson, both those guys are sharpshooters coming in, and they weren't able to get anything going. Dylan Williamson had some points, but just in terms of the 3-point shot, they were dreadful on that side. So you love to see that out of a team like Kansas, continuing that momentum on the defensive side of the ball. Wanted to talk to you about Bryson Tiller because he's been fascinating to me. He started off incredibly hot. Obviously, he had a game where he had 3-4 threes or whatever it was. In a half. Yeah. And all of a sudden we were talking about like, oh man, where did this guy come from? Well, we all kind of forgot that he was on the team, at the semester from last year, and then he's kind of been on a downward spiral in terms of 3-point shooting, in terms of rebounding. When you look at the NC State game, 2 points, 4 rebounds. You can't do that if you're a 6'10" power forward. Yeah. Now, he saw the ball go through the net today or yesterday. He got some rebounds. I thought he was good on the defensive end of the ball. But what do you think has been sort of the issue with Bryson over the last few games where he's really struggled over the last 7 games, I would say?
Well, I think something that's very observable, and it reminds me a little bit of Flory last year in his freshman season, is freshmen have a period of consistent growth, and then they plateau. Yeah. And they grow again, and they plateau again. And I think we saw a lot of that growth early on. I don't think a lot of us expect him to become a consistent starter at this point in his career, so credit to him for doing that. But then I think we saw a plateau, and that it wasn't just that he went 0 for 15 from 3 over the course of a month. It was a lot of the time, not exclusively because he had a 17-point game at the Players era, but a lot of the time he wasn't playing big enough. He wasn't consistently asserting his will inside. He was spending too much time on the perimeter. He wasn't grabbing as many rebounds as he should, considering he's like 6'10" with a 7-something wingspan. Yeah. But I think he's turned a corner a little bit. This was, 11 points. He still did most of it in the second half. So like I said earlier, you'd like to see that be a bit more consistent. But there's some reason to believe that he's getting out of his first kind of plateau of his time at Kansas.
Sure. Henry Greenstein, ksports.com, and the Lawrence Journal-World joins us here. I don't think I said KUSports.com and LJ World. But
thank you for doing so now.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that is your full legal name.
And
so
thank you for having me as a substitute, Sean. You could still make old jokes. I am like 6 months older than you.
You're the same age. If I make old jokes to you, that means I'm also old. And so I don't. I found my first gray hair, Henry. I'm still a little shaken up about it. One more basketball question for you before we transition over to football. It's going to be a quick one and an easy one. Is Melvin Council a three-point shooter now?
One has to conclude that he is.
Right?
You know, it's funny. You talk about regression to the mean usually in a negative sense, but to see someone go from 5 of 27 and then the next 2 games they're 12 of 21, that's positive regression.
Yeah.
Suddenly now, I haven't checked the exact numbers. Let's see if I can do this math in my head. So he's now 17 of 38. No, 17 of 27 plus 20, 48. 17 of 48. Yeah.
I don't know, I'm only at 6 right now.
17 of 48 on the season, so that's about 34%.
And that's an average 3-point. I mean,
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
If he sticks right around there, that would obviously be the best mark of his career. Like, I'm not necessarily expecting that he's going to hit one of every 3 threes the remainder of the season, but he's shooting with confidence. As Bill Self says, shooters only remember their makes, not their misses, and that certainly seems to be the case for him. I was worried that he would forget he's supposed to drive past people, but that hasn't been the case.
Sure, yeah.
He's still doing that. I hope for KU's sake that he will continue to understand that's the bread and butter of his offensive game. You know, penetrate, kick the ball out, or go up for a tough layup, and that he won't settle for too many threes. But even just forcing people to guard him on the perimeter will help Flory and Bryson have a little more space in the paint, and teams won't be able to pack it in as much, which is something that, man, I saw so many times over the last 2 seasons, just like 4 guys in the paint at any given time.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like this KU team is going to meet that same kind of defense.
No, I mean, you certainly don't think so. And Melvin Council, he's fascinating because with a lot of basketball players, if there's one facet of their game that's really lacking, they'll tend to work on that solely, and they'll get better at it, but then the other facets of their game go down. It's almost like he's just added the 3-point shooting and nothing else has gone down, which is, you know, the perfect basketball player in terms of moldability in you know, progression. So you love to see that out of Melvin Council Jr.
If anything, like, he's actually having more efficient shooting performances than before he was shooting threes.
Yeah.
Like, he was 13 of 27. It's a lot of shots, but he was just below 50%. Yesterday, he was 6 of 13. You know, you think about the games before that where he was going like 6 of 16 or whatever, people were being annoyed. This is better than that.
Yeah, it absolutely
he's
is.
Being more
and
efficient.
I mean, he's shooting better from the field. He's shooting better from the 3. I mean, the kid is he's getting a lot better as the season progresses, and hopefully that'll continue to progress. If it continues to progress, it's almost like doubling every time. Eventually, it'll be like 1 billion points or whatever. But Henry, wanted to transition over to football. Obviously, you know, after a disappointing season, Kansas winds up 5-7, and I just want your thoughts. I don't think we asked you about this last time. Kansas, it came out that an official spokesperson for Kansas did come out and say that Kansas did decline a bowl game, right? They were offered to go to the Birmingham Bowl against Georgia Southern. Kansas was 5-7. A lot of other teams had declined the bowl game as well. I want to know your general thoughts. I can talk myself into either way being good, and depends on how I wake up in the morning. But your overall thoughts in terms of Kansas declining the bowl game?
Yeah, the most read article I've ever published.
Is that right?
Wait, that's not a flex. That's just saying fans were not happy.
That's
about
crazy.
This.
Yeah,
fans
sure.
were aggrieved about this decision, and to some extent, I don't blame them. This is a program that much was made of the quest for another bowl game this year, and they fell short in pretty ignominious fashion. So and considering how few bowl games KU's had in its history, I don't blame anyone for being upset that KU had an opportunity in its grasp, even in a fluky fashion, and didn't take it. I ultimately think this just comes down to logistical considerations. I mean, first of all,
they already turned their stuff in.
Yeah, you turn your stuff in. The way a lot of these players take online classes, so even if you do have finals, it's not like you have to be there in person. People go home. When the season's over, they go home and they think about their next decisions, and also a lot of those decisions are to enter the portal, as we've seen recently.
That's true.
Do I think KU could have had enough players on its team to field a functional roster? Maybe, but I'm not in the building, so I don't know for sure. And obviously there are a lot of seniors who would have had a tough decision to make after having already gotten kind of a sense of closure, unwanted closure, but closure nonetheless on their college careers. I don't think this is a situation in which it was an easy decision for anyone involved. It's really unfortunate for a team that, as I said, has had so few postseason opportunities. It could have given one more chance to a lot of players to kind of finish their career on a strong note, put more on film for professional scouts or, frankly, for other teams' personnel departments, which I guess isn't totally a positive thing from a KU perspective. But yeah, it was kind of a disappointing and weird coda to a disappointing and weird season.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I can talk my way into both of them being, I guess understanding. I wanted to go to a bowl game, right? I thought that would be a great thing for the program. It's the opportunity for, more reps for a lot of these younger guys, right? I mean, even if a lot of the seniors weren't going to be able to come back, that's still really good practice for a lot of these guys who aren't going to put on a pair of pads until April, right? So, it does make sense a little bit, but at the same time, there was a six-figure payout as well, which obviously there is something along those.
That's outweighed by having to get.
I know you got to get them. They got to get the managers there. And, I mean, how many? I mean, there's 33 seniors on this program. I bet you 32 of them are out of state right now. Yeah. They're not even in the state of Kansas. So I get it. I do understand it. Henry, I wanted to talk to you. You mentioned the transfer portal. Kansas, I believe, has 10 guys. I believe the number as of right now is 10. The most recent one, Laquan Robinson, but the most notable ones, Lyric Rawls, Logan Brantley. I'll even throw Johnny Thompson Jr. in there because
John Kamara.
John Kamara. Yeah, that's right. John Kamara as well. So a number of different people who we saw get some reps over the course of this year. Your thoughts on kind of the guys who have intended to go into the transfer portal, and also for Kansas looking into the transfer portal. With the new rules and with no spring window, right, Kansas is really going to have to be able to adjust. And Kansas has done a good job in terms of not losing talent and bringing more talent in, as opposed to a lot of other programs who just can't maintain anybody. Your thoughts on the guys who are leaving, and your thoughts in terms of what is the most important thing that Kansas needs to get out of this transfer portal?
I mean, something that immediately comes to mind, and I was talking to some of our esteemed colleagues about this yesterday, including Kevin Flaherty and Nicholas J. Springer over at.
Was that a lunch that I was invited to and I wasn't able to go to?
Yeah. Alas. I was talking to some of our esteemed colleagues about this. The way that the portal is set up now with this window, it's kind of like a bad news factory. So it used to be that the portal would open and you had a mix of players departing and people taking visits and committing to Kansas. Now, with the portal not officially opening until January 2nd, they're not allowed to contact people from other teams except, they got Jibril Conde because he's from Division II. It's a different rule.
Right.
Otherwise, there's no inward movement. There's only a month people saying, just so everyone knows, I'm going to enter the portal on January 2nd. Right. So KU fans online, I would say, are in a state right now. They are not enjoying what's happening, and it's kind of hard to blame them because every day they're being fed a new piece of bad news.
Sure, which I get. Yeah, it makes sense.
So it's funny the way this is constructed now. There's going to be a whole month of people being annoyed, and then a month of mixed situations because they can still go into the portal. People who don't announce beforehand could still decide all the way up until the 16th they want to go into the portal. So, and then of course coaching changes have their own exception. Various waivers. And I every time I try to write an article about this, I have to add a million caveats because now the NCAA will just implement random transfer windows at any given time.
Yeah, so. It is. I mean, I don't know. I think I do like the fact that there is no spring window. Yeah. But if you're gonna make it after the CFP is over.
Yeah,
that's just
point.
Probably my.
I think
biggest
it's an enrollment situation. It has to coincide with the time. Anyway,
Sure.
That's not what you wanted me to talk about.
It was a Henry Greenstein rant session, by the way.
Yeah. Lyric Rawls is kind of a strange one to me. I didn't see that coming. It really felt like he had settled in at Kansas. He was one of KU's higher graded defensive backs, which granted isn't saying all that much because KU's defensive backs didn't grade out too well over the course of the season. And, has one more year because he missed most of 2023 at Oklahoma State due to injury. I didn't see that one coming. And combined with the fact that 2 other safeties have now announced their intention to transfer, it's basically like you got Taylor Davis, who struggled at times. I think he can improve more, and he was starting at a fairly early portion of his career, and I like Taylor Davis as a player and a person. But you got Taylor Davis, Mason Ellis, who, man, he keeps having the worst timed injuries.
I know.
Feels like every time he's about to hit his stride, he gets an injury, and then whenever he comes back from injury, he plays significantly worse than he did beforehand, understandably. But that's what happened. This year, he came back from injury, and KU didn't even want to put him at the position he was playing beforehand.
That's right.
They moved Jalen Todd inside to nickel, and I won't complain about that anymore because I complained about it so much during the. But so you got Taylor Davis and Mason Ellis, and then you have Darian Jones and Brandon Smelsley, who are both true freshmen last year.
Right.
That's your safety room right now.
Shout out to Axtell. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brandon
So
Smelsley.
that immediately to me becomes one of the biggest needs. You got 3 people who went in the portal. Maybe they need 3 out of the portal.
Sure.
I mentioned Kamara. I'll go with that too. That was kind of a gut punch. Not that Kamara was like exceptionally great, but it was his first significant action. He was a redshirt freshman. He's the best athlete on the team and most of the metrics they use at KU.
I compared him to Cole Rosario.
Yes, who now I think no one is talking about him. Like
That actually is true.
People have stopped talking about Cole Rosario. But yeah, I think that's. I heard that comparison. It's a little wonky, but I kind of like it.
The train of thought is there. It's like, oh well, he's a good athlete. You can see the raw ability there, but just not.
But he would have been a starter. Is that kind
of?
He would have started next year. So the fact that he's now off the board completely, and of course they also had 2 other linebackers go into the portal, and Logan Brantley, who was directly behind Kamara, and Ja'Cory Stewart, who we didn't really hear a whole lot about over the course of his time at KU. But the result is you have Trey Lathan and Joe Sipp. That's a good starting point, but both those guys feel like middle linebackers to me.
Yeah.
Weak side linebacker now is kind of a blank canvas. Malachi Curvey, I think people like, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets some spot snaps as a redshirt freshman.
Yeah.
And they got 2 great freshmen coming in Credit and Galbraith, but they need experience desperately at weak side linebacker. They need a Bengali Kamara-like addition.
Yeah.
Those are the 2 biggest positions of need that come to mind. I mean, I'll just run through them quickly. Quarterback, they're not going to take anyone, it sounds like, based on unless someone leaves, which would be a bit of a surprise. But running back, I think you need another Le'Shawn Williams kind of guy to pair with Harry Stewart. They had Johnny Thompson exit, as you mentioned. You need a veteran guy, and maybe that can be a good 1-2 punch.
My hot take was Justin Thurman's going to be the number 1.
Okay,
that's my hottest.
That's a really hot take.
That is my blindfolded full court shot. If it goes in, I'm taking 100%
I like the
credit for it.
Terminator. We will bookmark that for September.
Check this. Save that. Yeah, clip that out.
Please do. Receivers, I think you have a good starting point with Cam Pickett and Keaton Kubeka, but they probably need a 3rd starting caliber guy.
Yeah.
Tight end, again, a good starting point. Carson Bruin, Leighton Cure. You need a 3rd contributor.
Sure.
Offensive line, if you think about a line that can. Sorry, I'm going through every position now.
No, I know. You know what I haven't heard him say? My number 1, which is punter and kicker.
I'll get to that. they don't have anyone. So
there's nobody.
Well, they have a walk-on coming. Well, we'll talk about that. If you think about an offensive line that starts Calvin Clements, Amir Herring, Tyler Mercer, and Tavake Tuikoavatu, that's 4 solid guys. Calvin Clements had a tough season, but he got better as it went along. Tyler Mercer, I think the plan was very transparently for him to take over for Bryce Foster.
For sure, yeah.
Right tackle, you don't have anyone. You need a starting caliber offensive tackle. Defensive line, you feel good about defensive end. Leroy Harris has indicated he's coming back. Dak Brinkley, it seems like he's coming back. Alex Bray, I don't know if you want Alex Bray to be the starter. He could be maybe like a guy who's similar to the caliber of him and compete with him on the strong side. Yeah. Defensive tackle, Blake Harrell and Marcus Calvin, good starting point.
You know Marcus Calvin didn't have a barbell in his high school?
I've heard that. Well, we don't know. We only know about the weight room. There could have been a barbell in a different room.
Like the English room or whatever?
Sure. Class or something.
It's a good place to put one. Yeah.
We haven't thought about that.
That's true. Somebody go inspect his high school.
Blake Harrell and Marcus Calvin, you throw in Jibril Conde. Even if Josiah Cheese Hammond is ready to play at the end of the rotation, you still need 2 more D tackles.
True.
I already talked about linebacker. I don't think you really need a cornerback because everyone's young there. I already talked about safety. And then specialists, when I talked to Dane Eford last offseason, they sort of pitched it to him as like, you learn from Lath for a year, and maybe the next year you can get a scholarship and be the starter. I expect they'll bring in someone to compete with him.
Sure.
And then at punter, you only have an incoming freshman walk-on named Ben Shipley. So probably they'll be looking for a veteran punter. I kind of thought the idea with Efren Hasso was for him to redshirt and then be the starter this year after coming in quietly from Prairie View last year, but that didn't really work out. So that's where KU is in the portal, and I will have articles that express in much more elegant terms everything that I just said coming out later this week.
Oh, so eloquently spoken by Henry Greenstein, KSports.com, and the Lawrence Journal. Well, one more question before I let you go. I know you got a plane to catch. She's going to the east side. I don't know. The east side of the United States. I don't know if you just bought the wrong plane ticket or what. KU volleyball. Obviously, their season comes to a close as they lose to Nebraska in straight sets. Wasn't really close. Nebraska wound up losing, by the way.
I couldn't believe that.
That was unbelievable.
I watched the end of that. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, that was insane. But Reese Patak and Jovana Zelenovic were named honorable mention All-Americans by the AVCA as of today. Your overall thoughts? I guess this is probably the appropriate time to say, put a bow on the KU volleyball season.
It is appropriate. One of the few times you've said that it has been appropriate. Great job by Matt Ulmer to get a competitive roster, work through a variety of injuries and personnel challenges, and somehow, despite all of that, get KU beyond where it had been each of the past 2 years with arguably more experienced and higher, I don't know about better rosters, but at least more meshed, like pre-made rosters that Ray Bouchard had. The fact that he got to the Sweet 16 is very impressive. Now the real work begins, I guess you would say. I mean, he's got a great recruiting class coming in. A lot of those players are going to be in action very quickly because you mentioned Zelenovic. She's already reportedly in the portal.
Yeah.
Selena Laban has already transferred to Florida. Aurora Papats also are. So the three international freshmen who we were also excited about all seem to be leaving now. However, KU has Taylor Stanley from Overland Park coming in, who I believe is the number one opposite in her recruiting class.
It's huge.
So that's a good person to step in for Zelenovic. And they've already gotten a commitment from a libero, Olivia Hasbrook from Ohio State, who will join Reagan Burns, and they'll probably, one would think, compete for that little spot when Burns comes back from her season-ending injury. So some positive progress. You know, KU will continue to be in the mix for high-level transfers. It's a big recruiting class. I think six signees. It's a combination of people Bouchard recruited and people Ulmer recruited. A lot of reason for optimism. Still a lot of exciting returning players. Reese Patak, the headliner. You think about Kristen Klein, Grace Nelson. Still a lot of good pieces to build around, but the departures of those international freshmen ensure they will have to do some work on the roster.
Yeah, for sure. And losing Jovana Zelenovic, that is just that one really stings, because she was so much fun to watch all year.
She was. It's just volleyball is a different beast because she was already a veteran international pro.
Yeah, she's 21 years old.
So I don't think anyone's really expecting that she'll spend 4 years in an American university, but one at Kansas is probably a little disappointing for the fans who followed her this past year.
100%. Henry Greenstein, KSports.com, and the Lawrence Journal World. Really appreciate it, man. You got anything coming up? Any big stories that you want to put out there? And give yourself a plug.
If you didn't, thank you. If you didn't read it yet, read my story on the mysterious tie in KU's now 0-89-1 record against Nebraska, a tie that may never have happened. I put that out last week, and it built up some traction on social media. A lot of people seem to enjoy it, which I really appreciate because I put a lot of work into it. So go check that out. Otherwise, year in review content is something I'm big on. I've been working on a lot of stories that recap the top storylines of the year and what to look forward to in 2026. So go ahead and subscribe to KUSports.com. Much more to come in the holiday season and the new year.
And subscribe to the LJ World, best high school coverage in all of Lawrence. The best high school coverage. There's nobody better than the Lawrence Journal World and KSports.com for all your KU coverage. Henry, appreciate you coming on the show, man.
My pleasure.
All right, after this, going to be hearing from Flory Bidunga, Trey White, and Melvin Councils. They were made available to the media after the 73-49 victory over Towson yesterday on Rock Chalk Sports, KansasNation.com, and ESPN Kansas City. Welcome back into Rock Chalk Sports here on KansasNation.com and ESPN Kansas City. Daniel Court right here. Big shout out to Henry Greenstein for coming on the show and helping me out in that first segment of the show. Hey, KU, they beat Towson 73-49 yesterday. Trey White had 16 points. Flory Bidunga had 18 points, 10 rebounds. And Melvin Council went 3 for 6 from the 3 for 15 points. All three of those guys were made available to the media after the game. Let's hear everything that they had to say right now.
10 points, is that pretty significant?
Yeah, it was a good game on defensive end, but I still feel like we gave up a couple easy baskets, a couple rebounds that we could have took away. But it was definitely good to see some of the progress.
How did you feel, any of you guys, how do you feel you guys did with Coach Self's big priority on playing faster on offense and moving the ball?
I feel like we did a good job of that, especially in the first half. You know, we got Flo, you know, that's our big guy. We got him a couple easy looks. And I mean, when I feel like he get a couple easy baskets quick, that get him going for the rest of the game. So I feel like we did a good job of that. We just got to do that for 40 minutes.
Melvin, after your big game, did you find yourself having to, it didn't look like you rushed anything or forced anything, it just looked like you played your game?
Yeah, you know, I'm just enjoying it. It's my last year with the guys. That's really it. Just taking one game at a time and playing my best that I can.
Trey, when you talk about Coach wanting you guys to play faster, is it necessarily fast breaks and above the rim and getting lobs and running out like that, or is it just what you talked about, which is just getting your stuff fast and that kind of thing?
I think it's everything. Like I said earlier in the year, I feel like we had our best when everybody's flying downhill. You know, we creating closeouts. So if that's a lob or a transition, or if that's just playing fast and backdoor cutting, just playing with speed, I feel like, you know, that's what we're good at.
Melvin, you do the same thing. Obviously, every time you get it, you look to go. What does it mean to you? To play faster?
It means a lot, you know, because, you know, that's going to open up for everybody when we play fast. You know, play 4-game out and have Flory in the paint, get dunks and stuff. So I'm happy that the team was running with me today, and we're going to continue to do that and practice that a lot.
How do you define it? Sorry, that's what I meant by means to you.
Oh, define it?
I think Melvin trying to say it's like we need to play with good pace. I would say, you know, being not slow as much as possible and just like kick the ball and then, you know, share it as fast as possible.
And for both of you, Trey and Flo, when you watch this guy shoot the ball now, obviously you saw it at NC State. When you see it tonight, does it look different at all? I mean, he stepped into it, pulled the trigger, confident. I mean, is that what you see all the time, or are you seeing a different dude right now?
I wouldn't say different dude, but I would say, you know, he definitely, you know, had a hot game last game, so, you know, he's definitely feeling good. But, you know, we got the ultimate confidence in him, shoot it every time. So I really don't feel like he's a different male. You know, he's just making them now. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For Trey and Flory, obviously, you know, Melvin's whole, you know, dog persona has kind of really, the fans are loving it. How much has that maybe rubbed off on you guys, just kind of, you know, being a dog?
I mean, I would say, you know, he brings such a great energy, you know, every practice, you know, he pushes us to be better, you know. I think Melvin is one of the fastest person on the team, you know, see him running just, you know, make me want to run faster, you know, just keeping with him. I think the same as Trey, so.
What do you guys make of Cole Rosario? They were, you know, just kind of flying all over the place.
That's him to a T. You know, even if he's making shots or missing shots, he's going to be the hardest playing dude in the gym. So, you know, I'm excited to see him make a couple more shots, for sure.
Trey, I think against NC State, I don't think you hit a three, and tonight you were 2 of 4. Do you just stay calm, just keep doing what you're doing, or how do you not force it?
I told him to keep shooting. And how
do you not go with your instinct to just keep shooting until it falls and remain patient?
For sure, for one, just trusting the work, and then for two, you know, my teammates, you know, giving me the confidence to shoot it every time. I'm gonna come back to you when it's open, let it go. So, you know, I have no choice but to let it go. You know, my point guard telling me to let it fly. So that's it.
Where you had the first 3 buckets for your team, and I felt like that kind of established a tone. What was your mindset at the start of the game?
You know, we always had to say it's like first 5, you know, make the first punch, you know, make sure we set the tone, you know, send the first message, and I think that was the mindset.
Melvin, obviously, you talked about, you know, getting back to yourself shooting-wise. Last game, this game, you shoot well. Do you feel more confident every make that you make, or is it just one of those things that you needed time to get back in the rhythm?
I don't really know. I'm gonna keep shooting the ball. That's really it. And I practice with Coach Dooley a lot. You know, unseen hours, and you know, just shoot the ball.
What do you guys think of Samis getting some time, and what does he show you in practice?
Samis, he's a heck of a player. Athletic-wise is crazy, and that's my guy. He the one that keeps me calm when coach is on me and stuff like that, and I'm not doing good. He the one that keeps me calm. So that's my boy, and I'm glad to have him back.
Thank you, fellas.
That was Flory, Bidunga, Melvin Council, and Trey White available to the media after the 73-49 victory over Towson. An excellent effort on the offensive side of the ball by all three of these players. Really, Melvin Council is really coming to. And look, earlier in the year, he talked about how he was the leader of this program, and Bill Self kind of laughed it off, and everybody else kind of laughed it off too. And now he has to be, right? And he's certainly, stepping into those shoes well, being the guy who's bringing up the ball whenever Darren Peterson is not out there on the court. And now he's got this three-point shot added to his bag where the rest of his game has not depleted. He is a drive first, drive and kick, or make a tough layup first kind of player, and he can make threes now whenever he needs to, which has been such a tremendous thing to add to his bag as well. Flory Bidunga, by the way, started off the game with the first 3 buckets of the game. He had 6 points right away. Kansas started off the game up 13-3 on Towson, and Flory had 10 of those points. He finished the game with 18 points and 10 rebounds. So Flory Bidunga has been doing an excellent job. Really no problems down low for Flory. And Trey White has continued to impress. I was not high on him. I will raise my hand and tell you I was completely wrong about Trey White. I thought he would be an excellent bench player. He would come off, maybe get 15, 10 minutes a game. And he's really, he's sort of a 5-tool guy now. And I talked about it. I said that Trey White, it seems like his game hasn't evolved since AAU. And I think that's turning into a good thing. I genuinely think that with Trey White, the way that he plays, with the ISO that he plays with the confidence that he plays with the, willingness to shoot the ball whenever, it really is to his benefit. And we saw a lineup, by the way, and Bill Self was asked about this in his press conference, but I wanted to bring it up now. We saw a lineup with Cole Rosario, Trey White, Samis Calderon, Bryson Tiller, and Flory Bidunga. If you look at those 5 guys, there's not a point guard. And it was intentional. Bill Self wanted to see if Trey White could run point. And he did a great job. I believe Kansas outscored him 7-2. And Trey White brought up the ball every single time. Starting the year, Trey White was playing the power forward spot. So it's really impressive, the growth that we've seen out of Trey White, especially in this last year basketball for the University of Kansas. So just another exciting piece for them. KU, they take on Davidson on Monday. Davidson's a pretty good team. Obviously a storied program over there at Davidson. That's going to be the last non-conference game. But we're enjoying this one, right? 73-49. I don't care if it was a relatively uneventful game. A win's a win, and a chance for some guys to A, catch their breath, and B, gain some confidence. After this, going to be doing a little bit more KU Towson breakdown right here on Rock Chalk Sports on KansasNation.com and ESPN Kansas City. Welcome back into Rock Chalk Sports here on KansasNation.com and ESPN Kansas City. Daniel Courtwright here. Big shout out to Henry Greenstein for hopping on the show in the opening segment. Also wanted to give a big shout out to Miles Schneier and Crown Automotive. They will treat you right. Whatever car you're looking for, they have a whole line of new Volkswagens, new Toyotas. They also have a whole line of used cars. No matter what you're looking for, they're going to get you into the car of your dreams, the best car that will fit your needs. Also, shout out to Game Day Men's Health. Game Day Men's Health, guys, we know it's awkward. Nobody likes going to the doctor. Everyone, look, I'm a guy, and I've thought this plenty of times where I'm like, I'll be fine, right? Go get yourselves checked out. And I know nobody wants to go see a doctor, and so they do everything that they can to really make it a comfortable environment, right? It's a man cave-like setting. They have really cool stuff on the walls. They got a TV in the front that's usually playing ESPN. Sometimes it'll play Kansas Nation. It'll play Rock Chalk Sports, which is really cool as well. So go check him out. Getting your health checked out, obviously, is the biggest thing that you can do to improve your life. We all want to live longer. We all want to, make sure that we're as healthy as possible. And some people just put it off. Don't put it off. Go check out Game Day Men's Health today. A shout out to Mitch Bales and Sam Abrams over there. Really, really helpful over there at Game Day Men's Health. Going to be talking to KU Towson right now. Broke it down with Henry sort of in the open, kind of what he thought. I'll give my general takeaways from the game. Relatively uneventful. I don't want to use the word boring because it wasn't a boring. It was a little bit of a boring game, though. Like, Kansas got off to a hot start, right? We saw Flory working down low. Flory had no trouble whatsoever. We saw a lot faster paced offense than we've seen in the past, right? If you play the game tape between the NC State game comparatively to right now, or this Towson game, it's two completely different ball teams, right? I mean, you were watching people. You were watching people stick. You were watching people settle for shots. You weren't seeing a lot of ball movement. You were seeing a relatively slow pace, and it was just kind of a weird, thing to watch in that NC State game. And that was a little bit overshadowed by Melvin Council Jr. There was a lot to dislike in that NC State game. Kansas still managed to go in a tough road environment and win in overtime. Melvin Council had a fantastic game. We've talked about this, but at the same time, there was a lot of things that went wrong in the NC State game where just a lot of guys fell flat. I didn't think a lot of guys fell flat in this game, right? We saw Flory Bidunga really, really take over down low in the post. Like I said, he had 18 points, 10 rebounds. Trey White finished with 16 points and 6 rebounds. He went 4 for 5 from the free throw line, 5 for 10 from the field. I really like what Trey White is doing and his role that he's sliding into here, because at the beginning of the year, I kind of talked about how he's not big enough to be a dominant power forward in major college basketball, and he's not skilled enough to be a 3. I was wrong about the second one, right? And I'm glad that they kind of figured that out. I'm glad that they figured out that, hey, we shouldn't put this guy at the power forward position. Yeah, he's tall, right? But he's not tall enough, and he's not big enough to bang with the guys down low. But he can put the ball in the ground. He can shoot. He can create shots. He can facilitate the ball. And he's done an excellent job at that this year. So Trey White is a guy that we don't really talk about a lot, especially over the last couple of games, because, hasn't really been producing with what we need him to. But he's such a key piece to this Kansas offense, and on the defensive side of the ball, I think his upside is tremendous. I thought he did an excellent job whenever he was guarding Tyler Tejada last night. Tyler Tejada was reigning CAA Player of the Year. He's averaging 18.8 points per game. Held him to only 8 points, right? You look at Tyler Tejada, he went 3 for 12 from the field. That's horrible. That's absolutely horrible. 0 for 5 from the three-point line. He had 2 free throws. Trey White on the defensive end of the ball, that's something that we don't talk about a lot, is how much of an upside that he has. Now, there were a lot of switches as well, and we saw Bryson guarding him too. But the majority of the time, I think it was Trey White who was on Tyler Tejada and completely shut him down. Kansas's defense, their defensive identity is just tough and gritty, and they can get those rebounds. And it's one of the best things that I've seen. This is one of the best defenses I've seen out of a Kansas team in a long time, because you have it on multiple layers of the defense, right? You have Flory Bidunga down low, who's that ultimate rim protector, can bang with the guys down low. If Flory Bidunga was maybe 2 inches taller, he'd be a top 3 NBA draft pick. And I still think that he's going to get drafted in the NBA. I wouldn't be surprised if this is going to be Flory's last year, just because he's on a lot of big boards for the NBA draft, and a lot of teams can see the development and see the skill set that Flory has with a prototypical big man down low. But you have that rim protection from Flory. At the 4 spot, you have Bryson, who can guard essentially 1 through 5. Flory can also guard 1 through 5. We've seen him guard a point guard before. In a really tight situation last year against Houston. He had a big stop. Now, granted, Kansas wound up losing that game. But still, I think that's important to note that you have two guys down low who can guard 1 through 5. It's one of the more unbelievable things that I've seen in my life. Bryson Tiller, I think, on the offensive side of the ball, has a little bit more of a skill set than Flory. He can shoot the three. He can dribble the ball. A little bit more, I don't want to say coordination, but just a little bit smoother with his actions, I think. Just needs to get a little bit tougher. But on the defensive end of the ball, I think Bryson does an excellent job. Trey White, as I said, his defensive upside is phenomenal. Melvin Council Jr. just plays with an immense amount of fire underneath him. And, I mean, he's so much fun to watch play basketball, right? I mean, he's one of those guys where he's like appointment television. Like, you turn on the TV to be like, oh, I want to watch Melvin Council Jr. and Kansas play basketball. Even if you're not a Kansas fan, you like watching Melvin Council Jr. play basketball because he's so fast, because he works so hard. He's a hustler. He is diving on the ground for loose balls. He's getting in those passing lanes, getting steals and fast break dunks. It's just so much fun to watch out of a guy like Melvin Council Jr. And then, you kind of look around some of the other pieces, right? I'll include Darren Peterson in that, where he's obviously a 5-tool guy, potentially the number 1 NBA draft pick. And his defensive upside, I think, is really, really high, too. I think I've liked what I've seen out of him on the defensive side of the ball. He just makes everything look easy. And then you look at guys like Jamari McDowell, who goes out there and tries his hardest, and I think he does a great job at guarding the perimeter. Same with Elmarco Jackson. I think Elmarco Jackson is probably a better defender than Jamari McDowell. I think Jamari McDowell's offensive upside is a little higher than Elmarco, especially in the last couple of games. We haven't seen Elmarco really score a whole lot of points ever since the Tennessee game, which is nice to see. It was kind of a coming out party for him. But Jamari McDowell has been excellent on the defensive end of the ball. But Kansas on the defensive side, they held Towson to 27.5% from the field, that's from the field. 27.5% is like bad three-point shooting. They held them to 27.5% from the field, 19 of 69, which has been unbelievable. And then from three, we knew coming in, Dylan Williamson, he had the second or third most three-pointers in a season last year for any Towson Tiger. The kid's a sharpshooter. He had 88 threes last year. Kansas held him to 3 threes. They went 3 of 24, shot 12.5% from the three-point line. So that's nothing to scoff at. Kansas's perimeter defense, their first shot defense, has been so good all year, especially around the perimeter, that I said it with Henry, it's not a fluke, right? I mean, you could look at a sample size of 3 games and look at it and say, oh, yeah, well, teams aren't shooting 30%. We're like, okay, yeah, but we'll see and wait. I think we're at the point now, game 12, you're looking at this and going, damn, this Kansas defense around the perimeter is one of, if not the best in all of college basketball, right? I mean, you look at the three-point percentage on defense. Kansas dropped down. I believe they're tied for 5th. They were 3rd at one point in terms of percentage. But the other couple of teams ahead of them are mid-majors who haven't played high-quality opponents. Kansas has played a ton of high-quality opponents. So I'm going to go ahead and say that Kansas is the best in terms of three-point perimeter defense, which is really going to be helpful with, the way that college basketball is moving. A lot of three-pointers being shot, and if you can't make threes against Kansas is going to win those games, right? So I think that's important to note. But overall, I really like the effort. I like the fact that Kansas got a lot of bench minutes from their guys, right? We saw Corzario come in. He had 17 minutes. He wound up with only 3 points on the game, but I liked his minutes when he was in there. On the defensive side, I think he's getting better. He just needs to get faster, man. And look, he's got this raw talent that you can see, but the game is just too fast for him. He shouldn't be here. Not in a mean way. In a way of he should be a senior in high school right now. He reclassed and came to Kansas, and his upward trajectory out of high school he was maybe a 3-star guy, wound up being like a top 30 player in the nation in a span of 3 months. All of a sudden he reclassed and comes to Kansas, and it's just a little too fast for him, right? So it'll come with time and with experience, and he's going to be a good player for Kansas down the road. He's just not quite there developmentally yet. I think he will be, and I'm really excited to see what the future holds for a guy like Corozario. Elmarco Jackson, he had 24 points, 24 minutes, only 2 points in this one. Elmarco's got to do better on the offensive side of the ball. We saw some Jaden Dawson minutes as well. He only had 2 points in this one. Didn't love the minutes that I saw to Jaden Dawson. And we saw Samis Calderon get 14 minutes as well. No points for him, but I really liked what I saw just in terms of what we've seen out of Samis Calderon before and what we're seeing now. On the defensive side of the ball, I thought he's done an exceptional job. So really looking forward to what Samis Calderon is going to be able to provide for the Jayhawks down the road. Hey, after this, going to be doing the KU Mailbag. By the people, for the people, the KU Mailbag, where you send us questions, and we try to answer them to the best of our ability right here on Rock Chalk Sports on KansasNation.com and ESPN Kansas City. Welcome back to Rock Chalk Sports here on KansasNation.com and ESPN Kansas City. While you're here, by the way, be sure to like and subscribe everywhere you find your podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you find your podcasts. Be sure to like and subscribe, watch all of our stuff, always putting out excellent content out on everywhere. We put our stuff. We're here every weekday from 4 to 6 on KansasNation.com, so be sure to check out our live show as well on KansasNation.com. Also, be sure to follow us everywhere on social media, TikTok, at the Kansas Nation, Twitter at the Kansas Nation, Instagram at the Kansas Nation, Facebook, we are just Kansas Nation on there. So be sure to follow us, like us, share us, anything. Anything will help. So really appreciate everybody who already is following and listening along here on Rock Chalk Sports. Time for the KU Mailbag. By the people, for the people. My favorite segment of the week, where you ask us questions and we try to answer them to the best of our ability. I want to start here because this is a real brain cruncher. Elliot wants to know, would you rather next year, so I'm assuming he means 26-27, he said, would you rather win a national championship in baseball, softball, soccer, women's basketball, track and field, both men's and women's golf, and volleyball? So national championship in all of those. Or win the Big 12 regular season and the Big 12 championship in football and win the national title in basketball. And it's so tough because you have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 national championships compared to 1 in a Big 12 championship. He also said no guarantees on CFP outcome for football if Kansas wins the Big 12 championship game. It's tough. I mean, off the jump, I'm going to go with the 8 national championships in 1 year, right? I understand they're non-revenue sports, but I think that it would be incredible if Kansas was able to do that, and that would just continue to build Kansas athletics in general. Because, look, I don't know if you know this, but, like, Kansas athletics, aside from basketball, and you can make the case for track and field, in terms of history, has not been great, right? Kansas volleyball got good relatively recently in terms of all of history, right? Because Coach Ray Bouchard came here in the 90s, I believe. Before that, Kansas volleyball was not good. Kansas soccer before was not good before Nate Lee came around, right? KU baseball wasn't good at all but until Coach Fitz came around. Kansas golf, we had Gary Woodland. That's about it. That's like the biggest, person we've ever come out of Kansas golf, which is also, I mean, good, right? Obviously, you won a U.S. Open. I think it would do incredible stuff for Kansas athletics in general if Kansas were to win 8 national championships in 1 year in all of the non-revenue sports, as opposed to winning a Big 12 regular season and a Big 12 championship game in football and a national title in basketball. It's tough because football is king, and in terms of all the bad sports that Kansas has had, football has been the worst historically. And I think if Kansas was able to get a Big 12 championship and win the Big 12 championship game and, make the college football playoff, I think that would do tremendous things for this Kansas football program, especially after rebuilding an entire stadium. And for Kansas basketball, you want Darren Peterson. Well, I guess it would be next year, so it would be Taylon Kinney's team, and hopefully Flory and a lot of and some other returning guys. Kansas has won 5 national championships. I'll give them, or I guess 6. I'll give them 4. The Helms championships are kind of up for debate. I understand that. I think I'm going to go with the 8. Give me baseball, softball, soccer, women's basketball, track and field, men's and women's golf, and volleyball. I think that would make me so incredibly happy if Kansas were to win a national championship in all of those sports, as opposed to just one national championship in basketball and a Big 12 championship in football. So that's my take on it. It is a good question though, because it does kind of make you think in terms of like what is, because like basketball and football, those are the money makers, baby. But also it's like 8 national championships. You can't pass that up. Elliot also asks, he said, if you can make one change at OC and DC for KU, who are you bringing in? I'm going to go ahead and – so I heard this from John Kirby over at Jayhawk Slant. Apparently there was a flight from State College to Lawrence, or vice versa. Maybe it was Lawrence to State College. Obviously, that's where Andy Kotelnicki is right now. Andy came up through the ranks with Lance Leipold, and they're good friends. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's just a guy who's a big Penn State fan and a big KU fan. He lives in KU. If I were to hypothetically bring in one person at OC, I'm not calling for this, right? Because I do like Jim Zabrowski. I think that he has done a very good job, a relatively good job, I will say. It was his first real OC experience, and he's a great personality. But if I were to bring anybody in an OC, I would understand the appeal of Andy Kotelnicki, right? But if you ask Penn State fans, this last year they hated him. All he wanted to do was run the ball. He was super predictable, and it just wasn't an Andy Kotelnicki type season for Penn State. There wasn't a lot. They had a lot of pre-snap motion stuff, but a lot of times it was some of the same old stuff, and it was a little bit predictable, and all he liked to do was run the ball, didn't like to throw the ball a lot. Now, granted, it depends on who Kansas has at leading the helm at the quarterback position, right? If it's Isaiah Marshall, maybe that would work. If it's Cole Ballard, who has a little bit better of an arm than Isaiah Marshall, then maybe not, right? He's not as fast as Isaiah Marshall. David McComb has a really good arm too, I think. So it all kind of depends. I'm cool with Andy coming back, though. I would be cool with it. Again, talk about a guy who, just a football guy, right? He's a guy who would take his shirt off and in pictures, and just a blue collar working class kind of dude. I just loved Andy Kotelnicki. It'd be cool for him to come back for sure. So I'll go with that. That's probably the cheap answer. And then on the defensive side of the ball, DK McDonald. Let's say he goes back to the NFL this year. Look, there's a lot of really good options. I think Kansas probably looks inward. I guess maybe I'm looking into this wrong. If I can make a change, and if I had money expendable to me, I don't know. Pay Steve Spagnuolo $1 billion, and pay Sean McVay another $1 billion and have him be the OC and DC at KU. That's, I mean, that like in an ideal world, right? If you had all the money in the world, you bring in 2 guys, Sean McVay and Steve Spagnuolo. Just bring them in. So that'll be, that's my answer. But the real answer is, I bet Kansas looks inward on the DC if DK's gone. And for OC, I would be okay with Andy coming back. But I think that I want to give Jim Zabrowski another year. I want to give him another year to kind of see where he's really sitting. Cole, he wants to know, what's a good white elephant gift for my family Christmas? This is good. So white elephant, I always get too confused. So Secret Santa is when you have somebody and you know what to get them. White elephant is when you buy something generic and it's in a pile and you can pick and choose a present just based on the wrapping. Is that right? White elephant's interesting. I think a good generic one would be just like fun socks. Like everybody likes fun socks, right? Depending on the number, I guess you can just go with cash. That's always fun. Or like a gift card to Texas Roadhouse or Whataburger or whatever. You know what I mean? Just a gift card would be a good one. Personal favorite of mine would be a mug that says, I went to a white elephant Christmas party and all I got was this stupid mug. That's probably the best answer. I think you should go with that. Because there's some fun ones. By the way, I went to a white elephant Christmas party a couple years ago. 2 different Christmas parties. One the year prior, and one 3 years ago, one 2 years ago. One 3 years ago, I bought the price limit was $60, I believe, or $50, something along those lines. So I got a $50 bottle of whiskey as the white elephant, right? It's nice. You get them a bottle of booze or whatever. And then the next year, I said, you know what? I'm going to go with quantity instead of quality. So it was a $50 limit. So I bought 5 bottles of $10 vodka. And I put it in a giant box, and it got passed around like hotcakes. Nobody wanted it. Beats me. I don't know why. It's insane. Hurt my feelings a little bit. Whatever. That was one of the better ones I've done. So maybe do something like that. That's always a good one. iPhone chargers. That always works. But yeah, I like the mug that says, I went to a white elephant Christmas party and all I got was this stupid mug. That's probably the best one. Adam wants to know if you could replace the FNBO logo on Allen Fieldhouse's court with any other brand sponsor, who would it be and why? I'll tell you who it would be. Nobody. I understand. We are in the line of money is king. Sponsorships bring money into a program that right now is in a $15 million deficit. I get it. But it's James Naismith freaking court, man. You put a green FNBO logo. The bank's not even located. Well, they are located here. But it's First National Bank of Omaha. That's from Nebraska. At least make it Kansas related, right? So if I'm going to pick a brand, I might go with like Boulevard Brewing Company. That would be a good one. Who's another? Because if you guys remember, back in the day, Kansas on their scoreboard used to have Russell Stover chocolates on the bottom, and I always hated it. I thought it looked bad. Now they have it like on the actual video boards, but it was a static Russell Stover, like actual, handmade sign instead of like a rotating one that plays on a screen. I wasn't crazy about the Russell Stover one. But if you're going to put an ad somewhere, do it there. Why not? Do that. On the court sucks. I'm going to go with, like I said, Boulevard Brewing Company. I think would be a good one. Johnny's. Great local sports bar, one of 13 locations from Raymore to Topeka. Or the University of Kansas. How about that? Just put a Jayhawk there. Or just don't put anything there. That's what I think they should do. Just don't put anything there. I haven't really been open about that, by the way, about how much I do not like that. And I'm sorry if anybody's listening right now and they're not crazy about it. Sorry, but FNBO, put your logo somewhere else. Like on the court is just, or at least make it blue. Like having it green on the court just looks weird. Make it blue. Then I wouldn't be complaining as much. But that's just me. Colin, he wants to know, he says, is Peterson's injury proneness going to affect him going to the draft? Does he possibly stay for another year? No. He doesn't. Not that I wouldn't want that. But I'm going to tell you right now it's not happening. Because we've seen this in the past. We've seen generational talent in the past be riddled with injury, and it didn't really affect their draft stock in terms of taking them out of the draft, right? Like if DP doesn't play for the rest of the year, I will guarantee you he goes top 3 still. That's how good of a player he is. We've seen it. In the 4 games that we've watched Darren Peterson play, 5 including the Louisville game, the kid's different, right? You saw it back in the day with Kyrie Irving and Duke, which is, again, a very similar scenario. Kyrie Irving was a fantastic high school player, came to Duke. You saw the raw athleticism and the ability and the handles and the shooting. You saw it. What did he play, 11 games maybe for Duke? That didn't affect it at all. You know what I mean? Still was a lottery pick. He obviously went on to have an illustrious NBA career. There's guys in basketball. Football's different. There's guys in basketball that you can just tell that, he's different. Joel Embiid is another great example. A guy who was riddled with injuries at his time at Kansas, right? I think Kansas goes on to win the national championship if Joel Embiid is not injured, because you had Andrew Wiggins as well. But Joel Embiid still went 4th. What did he play for Kansas? 12 games? Maybe? Probably more than that. Probably like 15. He dealt with injuries the entire time. He still went top 5. So when it comes to a guy like Darren Peterson who has that ability, I mean, there's just no shot. Right, I've been saying this, and I've been consistently saying this. Like, Darren Peterson will be gone next year, barring any like if he doesn't go to the NBA draft this year, something has gone horribly wrong, and not even including like injury. Like that's not like that's like something out of this world where like no NBA team wants to touch him. Like, and that's not who he is at all. It's not going to happen. The kid loves basketball. He's a great kid. His head's screwed on right. He's going to the NBA. No question about it. I'm willing to put my life on the line and say that Darren Peterson will be drafted top 5 this year in the NBA draft. Doesn't matter how many more games he plays. We've seen enough. So, yeah, I just don't. I don't think that he's going to stay for another year. Andy, he says, "What's the gender of Sean's baby?" Here's the funny thing. I haven't told this on air. Sean, for the longest time, he was a baby, by the way. Thank you, Elijah. Happy, healthy baby. Obviously, congratulations. He's a father of 2 now. So he knows my pain and what I go through having 2 dogs myself. Obviously, you know this. But Sean made the decision to not know the gender of the baby until the baby was born, which I admire. I respect it. I think that is probably one of the biggest surprises that you can ever have in your life, right? But I wanted to know. And he knew I wanted to know so badly that after the baby was born on Wednesday, so a week a week ago today, actually. Baby was born on Wednesday. He refused to tell me the gender of the baby for 4 days, I think. I think is what it was. Because he knew he was eating me away. I told him, I called him. And I said, I'm about to call your doctor and have them tell me. I will call your wife. I will call your parents. I will call them all if you don't tell me the gender of this damn baby. And he did. And it's a girl. So shout out to Sean. 2 girls, father of 2 girls. So that's really exciting. Her name is Claire. So good for Sean. He'll be back sometime. I don't know. I told him to take as much time as he needs, obviously. Parental being there with your baby is very important. So he'll be back sometime in the future, but until then, that's why I'm doing all these shows. I don't know if I've really mentioned that at all. People are probably just confused. They're like, hey, what the hell is Dan just doing these? What, did Sean get fired? No, he didn't get fired. He had a baby. So congratulations to Kansas Nation's own Sean Kellerman for having his second little baby girl. Andy also asks, he says, should I be worried about the growing list of guys entering the transfer portal or wait until after we sign new transfers and see if we have net improvement or decline? It's a fair question. And Henry brought this up on his segment too, where there's going to be a span because, as we know, Kansas fans are not the most rational people in the world. And I'm lumping the group of people in a hive, and I probably shouldn't, but it's easy to when you're talking about KU fans. There's going to be a stretch, right? All the guys who Kansas is losing right now have not entered the portal yet. They are intending to. So the transfer portal window doesn't open on January 2nd. They're just informing the public, like, hey, I will be available January 2nd. Now, you're probably thinking, well, Dan, we already got a transfer coming in Jabril Kandi. That's because he played D2, different rules, different transfer portal windows. So all Kansas can talk to right now are non-D1 players. January 2nd rolls around, Kansas is going to start making calls. So you're going to see guys enter the transfer portal. And all of a sudden you're going to be like, well, KU hasn't added anybody. That's because they can't yet. So January 2nd, that's when the calls are going to be starting to be made. And look, here's the thing. One of the best things that I think Lance Leipold has done in his time at the University of Kansas is he's done a good job at getting talent out of the transfer portal. You look at the Leroy Harrises, the Saeed Gibbses, right? Bowden Gruen, Emmanuel Henderson, Leishawn Williams. The list goes on, right? You even look at some of the guys on the offensive line, like Enrique Cruz. I thought, obviously a good piece there. Bryce Foster, another one. He's done a good job at getting guys into the transfer portal. So I trust him to do that because I do think he is a very good recruiter. The rules are different now because we've seen a lot of guys come in to Kansas in that spring portal window as well. Now there's only one, and everyone's calling everybody, and you got to make your pitch. It's like being a salesperson who hasn't made any sales yet. It's like, this is never going to happen. It's like, well, okay, just keep your nose to the grindstone and eventually it'll happen, right? Eventually you're going to get guys who call you back and say, this is the place I want to be. You're going to get guys who come on official visits and say, wow, I love it here. And Kansas has been relatively lucky. And very easily, they have the blueprint of a team that should get screwed over by the transfer portal constantly, right? Because in theory, if this is Kansas 10 years ago, that would be the general thought is, oh, you had one guy who was really good, like Dorrance Armstrong. Could you imagine Dorrance Armstrong sticking with Kansas the entire time that he was here? No, absolutely not. But there was no transfer portal back then. So he stayed with Kansas. If you have really talented players, they tend to leave. If you have a program like Kansas was, guys are buying in. There's not a lot of guys who are leaving. Yeah, we're losing Lyric Rawls. That one sucks, right? John Kamara, that sucks. Lance is probably going to have 10 different safeties that he's talking to. Probably 10 different linebackers that he's talking to, right? So, I have trust. If I trust Lance Leipold with one aspect of anything, I think mostly it's recruiting. So we got to wait. It sucks right now because all we're seeing is everyone leaving and nobody coming in. That's because they can't, right? So, Berg, he wants to know, are we going to finish above our projected 6th spot in the Big 12? Yes, I do think so. Let me pull the Big 12 standings right now. That was past. That was football. So for the Big 12, for the standings, Arizona State right now is 13-0. Iowa State. Oh my gosh, this is women's basketball. It's unbelievable. This is making for bad radio, by the way. My computer's not wanting to. Sorry, I had to pause it. My computer was messing up a little bit. But I do have the Big 12 standings right now. Iowa State, they're 11-0. Arizona is 10-0. BYU 10-1. Houston 10-1. Colorado 9-1, which is crazy. KU, as of right now, they're 9-3. Just this is overall record. So Kansas right now in overall record isn't up there, but Kansas has played a lot tougher opponents. So in terms of where Kansas will land, I think Kansas right now looks like probably the 3rd best Big 12 team, right? Iowa State looks really good. Arizona, number 1 team in the nation, right? I think they're fantastic. I think you look at BYU and you see all the talent that they have with Rob Wright and AJ DeBonsa. But I still would take my chances with Kansas over BYU. I think that as of right now, maybe it's Iowa State and Arizona who are better than Kansas. I think Kansas is tied there with BYU at 3rd. So I think that's probably where Kansas will stick. Cody, he wants to know, what's the worst names to give a baby? This is a good question. Because names will cycle. But also new names come about. Like with Jalen Rose, he was the first Jalen ever, and now there's millions of Jalens. Jalen Rose was the first Jalen. He was born in like the 70s. And nobody knew his name until obviously the 90s when he was the Fab Five. I'm not the best person to ask because I wanted to name, if I had a daughter, I wanted to name her Courtney Courtright, and Piper was not thrilled about that idea. She's got she's got a list of names that she wants to do, and I'm cool with whatever. Worst ones, see, that's the thing is like I don't want to go with worst. I want to go with funniest. Like, I met a baby once named Gus, and it was hilarious. And he had little squeaky shoes, and his name was Gus. You'd throw him around and be like, "What's up, Gus?" And he'd be like, "Blah, blah, blah," because he's a baby. I think older names are funnier for babies, like Robert or Bob or, like, Baby Joe, you know? For women's name, like Brenda. What's a good one? Karen. Catherine. I like older names. Older names are funny. I don't want to go with the worst. I want to go with the funny. But yeah, Baby Gus. I'll never forget that. That was so weird. Like, oh, little baby named Gus. It's so cute. I loved it. It's not a bad name. It was funny. I loved it. Henry said, what are some storylines that you're most looking forward to in 2026 for Kansas athletics? Kansas makes their first CFP appearance. That's what I'm looking forward to. Don't know if it'll happen. I'm interested to know, and we'll do more talk about Phase 2, but they're taking down the stadium right now. I'll post something on the website today probably about that. Phase 2 will be interesting to see kind of how that progresses and what the stadium is going to look like for 2026. I'm excited to see what Matt Ulmer's first real team that's essentially all his girls is going to look like as well. So that would be fun to see for KU volleyball. And then the freshman class for Kansas basketball. That was going to be fun. And then I want to see the progression of the freshmen this year on the KU women's basketball program. I want to see how Jalea jumps from year 1 to year 2. I want to see how Libby Fandel jumps from year 1 to year 2. Keely Parks, right? I want to see Samaya, how she's going to grow, and this is going to be her senior season next year. So that'll be really fun to see. So those are the storylines I think I'm looking most forward to. That was the KU mailbag for today by the people, for the people. Shout out to everybody for sending in their mailbag questions. After this, going to be hearing from Kansas head basketball coach Bill Self, made available to the media after the 73-49 victory over Towson. On Rock Chalk Sports, KansasNation.com, and ESPN Kansas City. Kansas head men's basketball coach Bill Self was made available to the media after a 73-49 victory over Towson. Let's hear everything Coach Self had to say right now.
It's kind of late, isn't it? All right, fire away.
Just overall thoughts tonight. I know the rebounding numbers obviously weren't.
Yeah, that was bad. Well, we didn't rebound the ball. Other than that, I thought we played pretty well. We didn't turn it over, moved the ball better, had a lot of open looks that we didn't make. Our first shot defense was really good. I thought we did some good things, but you got to finish possessions, and we didn't rebound the ball.
The opening stretch where you guys go up 13-3, how reflective was that of the pace you want to see on offense?
I thought it was pretty good. I don't know what you guys thought. I thought the ball moved, and then I thought it got a little stale, and then there were times where it was better. But I actually thought that there were some good things with the pace, and the ball felt like it had a little bit more energy tonight than what it did the other day.
And then you had a lineup in the second half with no real point guard. What did you think of that?
I told Trey, I went down there and I said, "Do you think I made a mistake and didn't put somebody in as a mistake, or do you think I wanted you to play point?" He said, "Oh, you wanted me to play point for sure." So I actually did want to see, just if he could handle it or whatever. But they weren't pressuring. But yeah, that was by design, but certainly not a lineup that I think that we would play a lot moving forward.
Bill, on the pace, when you talk about playing faster, is it running every time, or is it just getting into things faster?
No, it's everything. It's pushing it, running unselfishly, getting the ball down the court as quick as possible, but we have the expression, the old Spurs expression, 0.5 rule, and some guys maybe don't need to have that rule as much as other guys do, but I did think the ball moved faster tonight. Even if when we didn't get much accomplished, the ball got to the third side pretty quick, and I thought that was a good thing.
Coach, after playing 7 straight high major opponents, this was maybe a chance to get a little better look at your bench. What are you seeing out of that unit?
I thought our bench really struggled tonight, with the exception of Marco. I thought Marco was pretty solid, but I didn't think our bench played great tonight. I was really hoping they would have a chance to, play and get some rhythm and all that stuff. I tried to play them, but I think that that's an area we can certainly get better in still.
Bill, talk about the rebound struggles a little bit. Do you think it was mostly just effort-based or something else? Did you see something else?
I'd have to watch the tape. A lot of times in ball, they got 10 offensive rebounds on 2 possessions. The other 60 possessions, they got 12. But I think a lot of it is, to me, is it competitiveness? I think part of it is. But I think the majority of it is, we're half step behind. Don't anticipate. Don't play big. Balls hit guys in the hands and they don't secure it. The best rebounders are the ones that want the ball the most and the worst. And I didn't think that we went after it like we need to go after it to have a all-around good defensive team.
And with Darren, go a little bit about what the timeline is looking like.
I don't know. I really don't. Yeah. But I know that he practiced yesterday, but he wasn't moving like he's capable of moving by any stretch. Much like the NC State game. much like the Missouri game. Although Missouri, I think, was more health related than it was legs, but you know, it's not his hamstring, so at least we got that going for us. But you know, he's frustrated. You know, he's frustrated. You know, when you can practice, you can be out there, but you know, when you're young, but when you get a little bit older, your body doesn't exactly react the way your brain tells it to. As you get a little bit older, I'll probably experience that, you know, in the next few years. That's what he's going through at age 19. You know, his body's just not reacting. His brain telling him to go somewhere and do it at this pace, and his body's just not reacting to it. So we still believe that it's, you know, a day-to-day deal. We still believe that we'll get through this, but until, you know, he can actually move the way that his brain's programmed to move, his body to move, then we'll probably be very cautious still.
What did you think of Melvin's performance after going for 36 the other day?
I thought he's good again. I don't know. I like watching him play, and he's kind of finding himself. So which I think was, you know, which is nice.
I think early in the year you told us he'd be a fan favorite. Can you tell that's happening with the barking and everything?
Yeah. I think the barking is a key element to people actually really liking him play. I just think, you know, you play with a smile and you play with energy, people like that. And then when you're fast, it actually looks a little cooler when you play that way too.
Second lowest scoring output of the year for an opponent, 49. Is that pivotal for this team, and how do you think, would you go home ecstatic that you hold the team under 50?
No, but I'll go home thinking our first shot defense is getting better. We just don't rebound the ball the way we're capable of rebounding the ball. But I do think we have a chance to be a really good defensive team. I don't think we are yet, and our defense is definitely ahead of our offense. But you know, it's when we get all our pieces out there and have some time to play together, I see the thing coming together in a way that we haven't seen yet.
Coach, Melvin's whole, you know, dog persona, have you seen that rub off on the guys a lot? And is that maybe something that you saw in the recruiting process, or even he talked about in the recruiting process?
Guys, the things that we're saying about that, and you guys are picking up on it, is exactly what he hoped that you guys do. It doesn't have. I do think he plays hard and everything, but I think it's you know, I saw him back out of a charge down there, you know, to you know, so it's not like it's 100% on all the time. But I think he's a really good player, and I think he's having fun with it. But certainly, I don't quite see it the same way that you guys are seeing it. I think he can become. I think he can graduate from a Shih Tzu to at least a Bulldog here in the next couple of weeks. So.
After the Missouri game, Trey White talked about the closeness of this team, brotherhood. It seems like he's a guy that everybody loves on this team.
I do think everybody likes Trey.
How important is it to have a guy like that?
I think it's important to have multiple guys like that, but I think Trey and you know, I think people like BT, I think people like Cole, I think people like Melvin, Flory's, you know, beloved, Darren, you know, everybody likes Mari and Marco. I actually think that there is a closeness to it, in large part because sometimes with teams, there are distractions that keep everybody from hanging out together. I don't think we have those right now. I'm sure guys got girlfriends, but for whatever reason, they seem to hang around each other all the time. Where you know, sometimes, you know, different things can occupy the majority of your off the court time, and I don't feel that with these guys.
What did you think of Taylor today and him hitting a three for the first time in a while?
Yeah, I'm glad he made a three. He didn't rebound the ball, but none of us did. But I thought he showed some pretty good moves on the post and things like that. He's skilled in there. So Bryson's a good player, but it's not really fair to him because he's having to guard on the perimeter, and he's never done it before in his life, and so it's new. But we're far enough along in the season that he can still keep making some major strides with that.
When you look at the big picture of the schedule and sort of the timeline of it all, at what point do you feel like you get worried about where Darren is?
I've been concerned for, 5 weeks. Guys, he couldn't finish the Louisville game. You get 24 and 14 minutes, and then you say I can't go. And it's, is it nagging? Yeah, but it's also bad enough that he just hasn't gotten better like we had hoped. We went through a period of time where it wasn't cramping; it was just a hamstring, and then that healed up. Yeah, I'm not worried yet. I'm concerned because this team needs to have an extended period of time together because it doesn't work like, well, he practiced for 2 days, so he's ready to go. That's not how it works. He wouldn't be able to help us that way. We wouldn't know how to help him, and he wouldn't know how to help others. There's got to be a rhythm to it, and hopefully, and the rhythm isn't just being out there and being at 70% or whatever. The rhythm is having extended days where you're 100%. So.
And if you do get through, you just said you still think you will. Is there any silver lining to
I
this
actually
part?
think. I actually said this after the game. I hate going through it. Would Melvin find himself if he was deferring all the time? I mean, there's some things that are positive now. If everybody can fit back in and Darren can understand that, hey, these guys can make some plays on their own too, and I can help them make it, and then they understand, well, we still got to, he's still our leading scorer. He's still got to get 15, 17 shots a game. If we can figure that out, and which I think we can, then I think our team will be better in February than we would have been maybe if it hadn't happened.
Sure. Is there a bonus for him, like in terms of wear and tear?
No.
None of that. Too
No.
young.
I'm not a doctor, but this people saying, well, load and all that. There's no, God dang. I mean, he's 18 years old, or 19, and yeah. I mean, guys can't play 35 minutes a game for 35 games without their body wearing down. But I wouldn't anticipate us doing that anyway with them. So.
With Darren and the cramps, have you looked back on like past situations that you've had players with cramps and kind of try to see if there's any similarities? And talk to any coaches. I know Duke had it with Pajero a while ago.
We've talked to everybody. So, and when you say talk to coaches, it's medical to medical. Yeah. So, but yeah, we've talked to everybody. We've only had a couple of guys that had this. Devontae had them probably as bad as anybody, and he worked through it. But it took a while to work through. So, but the thought about it is, and this is good because it's people are caring, but everybody has an idea of whether it's mustard packets or eating bananas or drinking this or what'd you say?
Pickle juice?
Pickle juice obviously is a big one. There's a lot of things that a lot of people think can do it, and sometimes your body just doesn't react to how it reacts to a nephew or an uncle in your family. So it's just we just got to figure it out, but the best news is it's not his hamstring. It's not something like that we feel like can cause any issues down the road.
Thanks, everyone.
That was Kansas head coach Bill Self addressing the media after a 73-49 victory over Towson. After this, going to be talking a little KU women's basketball. They're taking on Haskell tonight in Allen Fieldhouse for the City Showdown, the 785 community game. After this on Rock Chalk Sports, KansasNation.com, and ESPN Kansas City. Welcome back into Rock Chalk Sports here on KansasNation.com and ESPN Kansas City. Kansas women's basketball, they're taking on Haskell tonight in the 785 community night. First time they're meeting up since 1977. It's going to be this is going to be a lot of fun. I think the place is going to be absolutely packed. Haskell has a lot of solid fans, and their coach obviously went through a lot last year, being fired after government cuts, and sticking with his team was a really a testament to him. So a really cool opportunity for you guys to go out. So get your tickets at kuathletics.com/tickets for the KU Haskell game. It's going to be a lot of fun. Libby Vandel's coming off of a performance that her best performance as a Jayhawk. Obviously, it's she's a freshman and we're still in the non-con, but 17 points for Libby Vandel coming off of that Denver game. Samaya Nichols had 21 points on just 9 field goal attempts against Denver. She topped the 20-point mark for the 7th time in 11 games, went 6 for 9 from the field, 7 of 8 free throw attempts. You talk about Trey White getting the free throw line a lot. She gets the free throw line a ton. I believe she was top 5 in the nation in terms of free throws attempted. So really impressive stuff, but really excited for this game tonight. I'm going to be there, so be sure to be locked into KansasNation.com for updates, as well as on Twitter, Facebook, all that kind of stuff for the Kansas versus Haskell game. And then after that, got conference play starting. Kansas is going to be taking on Iowa State. Audie Crooks, she leads the nation in scoring. So Lily Meister, and Reagan Williams and Julia Davis are going to have their hands full. Hopefully Julia plays tonight, so we will certainly see. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to Rock Chalk Sports for today. I will talk to you guys tomorrow, talking a little bit of KU women's basketball, probably to open it up. Might have a special guest on or two tomorrow as well for Rock Chalk Sports. As always, thank you for listening. Watch us everywhere: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, and at KansasNation.com. For Elijah Schmidt, I've been Daniel Courtwright saying thanks so much for listening to Rock Chalk Sports, KansasNation.com, and ESPN Kansas City.